Hello and welcome to the IGN UK podcast, and we start this week with some really rubbish news, and we're recording this just after we found out that David Bowie has passed away. I thought it was a hoax. I woke up this morning, saw it all on Twitter, and I assumed that someone, because Jeremy Corbyn's Twitter account got hacked yesterday, I assumed maybe someone had hacked David Bowie's account, because that's the first place I saw people retweeting it, and I just thought instantly, it was just like, no, that's not real. But then
I actually thought it was a hoax as well, because I forget who posted it first, but it wasn't a very reliable source. I think it was like joined together with a screenshot from an anime, and I was like, this doesn't seem like a real thing.
His son Duncan was one of the first people to confirm it, and so once that was up, my phone just got loads of texts at about 7 o'clock this morning. So yeah, very sad news.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like I was talking to someone about it. It's just like one of those people who I know it's stupid to say this, but I just always assumed would be in existence, because it's just like, I don't know, it's really hard to figure.
Well, it's one of those things that kind of comes out of the blue as well. It's like when Robin Williams died, and that came out of left field as well. I think I was like really surprised. It feels like the same kind of thing. It's just someone that you grew up with and has always been in your life, and then all of a sudden it's just like, nope, they're gone. It's really weird.
Have you released his new album? Yeah.
It's really good.
It's very good.
So good.
It's crazy.
You listen to it in a different way now, though. Listening to it based on what was going on in his life. It's pretty tough.
Rubbish.
But we thought we'd have a positive conversation about some of our favourite acting performances, because as well as the music, he's been in a bunch of films over the last 30 years.
Really good ones as well.
Yeah, you know, he didn't act that often, but when he did, it was always something really interesting.
Really cool,
not always brilliant films critically or commercially, but like there was always something going on. So Gav, what is your first choice for a favourite performance?
I'm going to have to start with Labyrinth, because I think this is the first time I remember as a kid being even aware who David Bowie was. Like my parents listened to him, but actually seeing him and just seeing this person, and then as a kid seeing him in Labyrinth and seeing him in real life, like I was like, oh my God, Jareth is real. I really like that, and I think I grew like those songs. Me and my sister just absolutely rinsed that album as kids, and just watched the film pretty much. I'm not going to say every day, but on a really regular basis. It was one of the ones. And when you're a kid, you have like 3 films on rotation constantly, and that was one of the films. And I think because of that, he's just been such a massive part. Like afterwards, obviously, and being like, oh, he does good music as well, so you can go from there. Because I think at the time, I don't think a lot of people sort of rated his performance in Labyrinth, but I thought it was really good as a kid.
You saw him as an actor before you heard his music?
I guess so. I think so. I think that's the first time because I was quite young, so I remember being aware who David Bowie was. But yeah.
Can we talk about the cod piece?
The what?
The cod piece. It's pretty disturbing.
Maybe as a child.
I think it's good casting. Like a Goblin King, there is something otherworldly about him that you can imagine him being from another dimension.
Definitely.
I don't know if this is true, but I think it is. I believe he doesn't have a great memory of making the movie, like literally. I think he was doing all sorts of things at the time, and it's all a bit hazy.
I'm fine with that.
So the music, I don't know about the performance, but I know the music he wasn't particularly happy with.
Right.
And so I believe that when they were making Shaun of the Dead, Edgar Wright tried to get hold of when they're throwing records, he tried to get hold of the Labyrinth soundtrack as one of the records that they throw and smash. And Bowie wouldn't license it, because he doesn't license anything from Labyrinth, because he just wants it to go away, or at least the soundtrack.
Really?
And so for him, it's just something that no one can really do anything with, because he's just keeping it under lock and key.
That's really good.
So I think they ended up doing Bat Dance, was it Prince or something? But so I don't know if it was one of his favourites, but certainly for generations of kids, that film meant a great deal.
Definitely, yeah. Have you ever been? Prince Charles do like a masquerade ball now and again, where you go along and you watch the film, but they have one of their actors it's one of it's not an actor, he just works at the cinema, but they have him dressed up as Jareth and do like an intro and stuff. It's so good. If you can ever get along to one of those, the guy who does Jareth is really good.
They should get a baby in as well. And that scene's still amazing though, with the baby dancing and all. I just always, whenever I watch it, I always think, what the hell's going through that baby's mind? It must be amazing.
A friend of mine went to uni with him.
With the baby?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
As he was growing up, obviously, he went to like Wimbledon Arts College or something like that. Apparently he was an absolute whopper, and just sort of like swanned in, was just like, oh yeah, by the way, I was the baby in Labyrinth.
You would though, wouldn't you?
I would say that I'd start every conversation with that.
Because how many girls did he hook up with just based off that? Oh, I hooked up with the baby off Labyrinth.
Well, not as a baby.
Obviously not.
That seems like one of the things you could just lie about as well.
Yeah.
You could just tell people. Like,
guys, did you know that I was a baby in Labyrinth?
A couple of times in the States, like I used to tell people, because like in LA and stuff, that I was the bassist in Franz Ferdinand.
Oh my God.
It used to work. So yeah, I reckon you can get away with like, I was the baby in Labyrinth.
Have you got a more serious? Let's go with your serious one first.
I guess, yeah, a little bit more serious. The Prestige, where he played Nikola Tesla, which was really, really cool. I think like the first time he's introduced in the film, and you just see him walking through the electric field. What cooler entrance is there in the world than that? And I think it really says something if you have a character who's kind of introduced late in the film, who's maybe a side character, and by the time their part of the movie's done, you almost want an entire movie about that character. Yeah. Like that really says something for the character and how it's played.
I thought he was all right in The Prestige.
I thought he did well.
Like, no, but
good with the little mustache.
It really took me out of it. Like, it really took me out of The Prestige, because like of the world. As soon as Bowie's in it,
well, you
can't help but just be drawn to him and like look. Well,
I had a very different experience because I obviously watched it when I was young and I didn't even realize until afterwards. And like my parents were like, "Yeah, David Bowie's in that."
Yeah. It is good, though.
And I think it says a lot as well, because his acting has been criticised a little bit from some corners, that someone like Christopher Nolan wants him in his movie.
Yeah,
and that says a lot. That you go through the list of movies he's made. There's some really big directors have cast him, from Nick Roeg to Martin Scorsese, Jim Henson even. Like there's really smart, talented people see something in him and want him.
I saw a thing on the internet today. It was like he's the best Bond villain we never had. Like apparently he was offered a Bond villain role.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah, that would have been really good.
As a
really good
Goblin King Bond villain.
I'll do a weird one.
Okay.
Actually, I've got two weird ones. Which weird one should I do first? How about Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence? That's from 1983. It's quite a weird film, actually. I think before then he'd been casting kind of alien roles, literally and metaphorically, whereas in this one he was playing like a kind of really British or New Zealand, but like an army officer, and it was very stiff upper lip, just what you'd imagine an officer of that set in 1942 to be. And he's really good in the role. Like it was the first time we'd seen him do something that was totally opposite of what he was and where he came from. And it's sort of he's in a prisoner of war camp, and it's this battle between him and this Japanese officer played by the brilliant Takeshi Kitano. Have you ever seen Takeshi's Castle?
I have,
that guy. Who's an amazing actor when he's not doing that.
Of course,
It's actually really him.
It really is, yeah.
I thought you were joking.
I thought you'd be like racist.
I know. I have some serious stories about him, but probably not right for this. But I've met him. He's mad. And it's just it's a really sad, like tragic, thought-provoking film about these two approaches to war and approaches to prisoners. And there's also kind of weird homosexual undertones to his relationship with the Japanese officer. And it's just a really unusual film. And the film's good. The actual best thing about it is the music. I think you said
that's where I know it from, is the piano piece, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which I'm a huge fan of, and I used to be able to play on piano. And everyone that I know is like, have you seen the film? Have you seen the film? So I think it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of the music.
Oh, yeah.
I can't speak for a minute.
I listen to that music all the time when I'm writing, because it's such a lovely... It played in a lot of Japanese restaurants in the 80s, I remember, as well.
I would not be surprised, yeah.
You'd recognise it from restaurants. But yeah, it was just interesting to see him act a serious role that was opposite to who he is, and it would have been nice to maybe see him go more down that route. I think he didn't. I think he went for the weirder roles again, and I think he could have been a serious actor maybe if he'd wanted to, but obviously he wanted to carry on with the music. But an interesting film.
I would also have loved to see David Bowie compete in Takeshi's Castle. I think that would have been fantastic to watch.
I think that's one of the only things he never managed to do with his career, to be honest.
Damn it.
My other one is The Man Who Fell to Earth. Because I remember watching this as a kid, and I think maybe after watching Labyrinth going, oh, this will be good, but not really understanding it till way, way later. But it's one of those things, as you say, like he was cast in a lot of alien roles, and he does play an alien who comes to Earth looking for water. But I guess it's like perfect casting, isn't it? Because that's exactly what you want from him, and he is really, really good in there. You forget as well, like Rip Torn used to be really, really good before he kind of went off the rails and stuff. And he's both of them together, I think, work pretty well.
Have you ever seen Cracked Actor?
No, I haven't actually. The documentary.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
It's really weird and good. It's Alan Yentob following Bowie around on a tour in America, and it's when Bowie's at the height of kind of his heroin addiction, and he's paper thin, and he's so pale. He looks really ill, and I can't remember if maybe Nick Rogue saw that and thought, that's my alien,
right? Yeah,
for this movie. But it's certainly around that era.
Yeah,
and so. He does look like something from another planet, because he was at death's door, really. Like, it's amazing that he, survived that period, because I think it was pretty dark. If you've, I've read books about his life, and it was pretty messed up. But it works for that character. I mean, you don't have to do makeup on him. He's, he's got the bright red hair. He's so pale. He's so skinny. He looks otherworldly.
Yeah,
he does. I think it's something about like his facial structure. He's got like quite strong bone cheeks and quite a thin face. It just kind of lends itself to these like otherworldly characters. It's just a bit unconventional.
And that's a film that's really stood the test of time as well, like as a satire of the media. Like you could release it now and the message would be even stronger.
There's a really good couple of lines in the trailer as well that I just wrote down, which is like, nothing you have seen or heard about David Bowie will prepare you for his first dramatic performance. And a really nice line which says, one of the few true originals of our time, about David Bowie, which I thought was quite nice.
Lovely.
Definitely. I'll do mine first, Rory, because
before we just
also because my one's a weird one.
Okay.
Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
So 1992. I actually only saw it when it came out, and it scared me so much I've never been able to watch it again. But it just, for me, it felt like I wasn't a fan of Bowie's at the time. Yeah. It was before I found his music, but. Looking back on it, what a brilliant meeting of minds, like David Lynch and David Bowie. A lot of actors have to up their weirdness factor to be in a David Lynch movie, whereas Bowie has to tone it down almost.
Perfect.
And it was little more than a cameo, but he plays an FBI agent who's been missing for a couple of years and shows up at their Philadelphia headquarters. And it's just weird. He comes storming in a white suit and like an Hawaiian shirt, and he delivers this speech in quite a dodgy American accent, but it's so intense, and then he's gone. And it's just the two Davids, it's a shame they didn't do more stuff together, because I think that was a good meeting of minds. And actually David Lynch is in the scene with him. It's him and Carl McLachlan, and it's just it's a perfect cameo, because he just does his bit and disappears, and then you're like, did that just happen, or did I dream that?
Which is perfect for like a David Lynch thing as well, because it's like, you feel so uneasy.
Well, the whole film is like a dream. So, all right, last one.
Last one to round it off.
So you're going to pick Last Temptation of Christ, aren't you? Obviously,
of course.
Or when he played Andy Warhol in Basque.
Oh yeah,
that was a close second. But I think what's going to take it is when David Bowie played David Bowie in Ricky Gervais Extras. I think that was definitely the peak of his career, the number one performance. I mean, he really nailed it. He really, got the character down perfectly. It was so funny. It was really so funny. It's just the introduction to him, and it's kind of, the whole show is about Ricky Gervais reaching this point of celebrity status where he's still kind of uncomfortable to be with the celebrities, but he still feels like he's above everyone else. And you have this moment where he meets David Bowie, and finally David Bowie's really like welcoming and inviting him back to the thing, and you're like, okay, it's all going really nice. And then David Bowie just starts improvising on the piano and writing this song about Ricky Gervais, and
really hurtful
song, but it's done so innocently. He's just like, hang on a second. And he just starts playing this beautiful music, talking about
chubby little fat man,
pathetic little loser, his pug-nosed face, and like all this stuff. And then it just escalates to the point where like the whole bar is all like singing along with David Bowie, making fun of him. It was so funny.
I've got a friend who's in that scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's just behind him at the piano singing.
Awesome.
And she just said what an amazing day that was to sort of get to sing with David Bowie. She's a singer now. She's actually quite successful. But just to sing with David Bowie.
That's awesome. I think my favourite thing about it is it's really good, but just the eye contact between David Bowie and Ricky Gervais, as Ricky Gervais is like pouring his heart out, and David Bowie's like looking at him, sort of considering it, and then even when he's playing, he's just looking him in the eyes a couple of times, and it's really horrible.
It's really intimidating,
but it shows that he had a real sense of humour about himself, because also another one I could have picked is Zoolander. Like his singing Zoolander is really good, funny.
It is great. It just shows he's quite self-aware of like his own image.
Yeah, well, I think he's been very good at keeping himself quite guarded and not being in the public eye too much. And so when he does stuff like that, it was really refreshing and it actually kind of had an impact, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, very sad news. But I mean, he'll live on not only through the music, but through some of these films as well.
Definitely. So we've renamed our Rum and Bum sections in honour of him with Jareth's Castle for the good section and the Bog of Eternal Stench for the bad stuff.
Which I thought was a reference to the entrance of our office. I thought that was the Bog of Eternal Stench.
It's close.
Close.
Is Jareth's Castle good? Isn't it like evil and bad?
It
and
looks
like,
nice.
Okay, fine.
I've basically done this just so I can put the Bog of Eternal Stench on
Okay,
there.
I see what you've done there. Excellent work.
Rory,
You can't have good stuff, the Bog of Eternal Stench. That doesn't quite work.
what's the first room in Jareth's Castle look like?
The first room in Jareth's Castle is filled with sake and Japanese toys and ridiculously cute
And why
things.
is that?
Because before Christmas, I got the chance to go to Japan with Bandai Namco and go to a pre-Jump Fest event and check out a lot of the games that they're going to be bringing west. And it was one of the best trips of my life. It was incredible. I'm one of those people.
Because you were in
that's-
Japan or because the stuff you've seen was good?
Both. Absolutely both. Like, it's been one of those things, like, I'm one of those people that has always wanted to go, and I've been trying to plan it my whole life and justify it, and I got to go with work, so it was just the best of both worlds. It was insane.
What was the best thing you saw in Japan?
God, every time I stepped outside the room, like, my jaw just dropped.
Be more specific.
Well, okay, if we want to be more specific. One of the coolest things that I saw was we were there 4 days, and I think 3 out of the 4 days we went to a place called the Akihabara district. Akihabara district. And it's basically the district that's central for all the otaku, which is kind of like nerd culture.
Right.
So it's like films, TV, anime, video games, everything like that. So you get like all your DVDs, your movies, your retro video games, your figurines, your like essentially anything you want. And because a lot of it is manufactured in China and Japan, it's all so cheap. So I came back with just bags of toys and figurines and games and everything. It's insane. Like, there was a retro video game store that were selling consoles like the Nintendo 64 with like all their cables and a controller and a game for like 12, 13 pounds.
Shit.
Unbelievable. It was crazy. So for someone like me to go to a district like that, it was insane.
What was the coolest thing you bought?
The coolest thing I bought, I got a lot of cool things. One of the ones I was kind of constructing today during my lunch was the Legend of Zelda Figma figurine.
Oh, those are cool,
they do just like the quality on them is like really insane, and you can like swap the faceplates and change their accessories and things like that. But I'm not really into figurines, which is one of the things, like, I don't really buy them a lot.
Yeah.
But I got some other things. I got like an amiibo. I got a stuffed cat from a game that you can get on your phone that everyone in Japan is obsessed with.
Oh yeah, what's that called?
It's called Neko Atsume.
That's right, yeah.
Which translates to cat collector.
Brilliant.
And you just feed cats, and cats come to your garden. I'm very aware that pretty much every time I come on the podcast, I end up talking about cats in some velocity. So I'm going to try and tone that down a little bit.
Cats are good.
But I got a great cat.
Did you do any karaoke?
I did do karaoke, yeah, in the Shinjuku district. It was just as you would think. It's like a 11-story building with tiny soundproof rooms, and we got to go on a really cool one that kind of had a big glass wall that looked over the kind of square of the district. And it was so strange. It was really otherworldly. You'd be going to the bathroom and you kind of peek in, and in every room was just packed with like Japanese businessmen, like all wearing suits, singing their heart outs and just like downing beer, like so happy. And the karaoke is amazing because they have obviously all the English songs and everything from over here, but they don't have the rights to the music video, so they have to shoot their own music videos, which is just like as ludicrous as you could imagine it would be. Awful dubs, just like videos of people smiling and families around kitchen tables when they're singing about partying and things. It's like, it's so disjointed and strange.
Did you do any work?
I did. Okay. I did do a lot of work, which we're going to get onto a little bit later. I'm going to be talking about some of the coolest games that's going to be coming to the West. But I had a blast. I had an amazing time.
Why have we split those two sections up?
I have no idea.
Because I thought it's fun to talk about all the cool stuff, all the crazy stuff, and then later we'll do the business. I'm a mullet kind of guy.
Okay, so
party in the back and business in the front.
Well, apologies, listeners, if at the start of that conversation you thought we would lead into Rory talking about.
You know what? Let's just change it then. All right, fine. All right, look, I'm changing the agenda. Time to talk about Namco's best titles heading west. fine. If you want to just throw the book away and the timetables and everything.
You're like leaving people on a cliffhanger.
That was the point, and then they won't tune out. They'll have to come back later.
All right, yeah. Go on.
Okay, so some of the best games that they're going to be bringing west. Now, we got to go to Bandai Namco's headquarters and actually go hands-on and interview some of the developers on the games. So one of the coolest ones was Sword Art Online Hollow Realization. Now that's a game, I know, the titles are a little bit crazy.
What's wrong with them? Like, they bring these Japanese games to the West and they give them these dog shit titles.
Well, it's called Sword Art.
Means that no one's ever going to buy them.
It's called Sword Art Online,
right,
which is the anime that it's based on.
Okay.
And then, so the game is just called Hollow Realization. But I still feel a certain amount of skepticism in your eyes.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll just go on anyway. It's based on the anime where players they kind of like plugged into an MMO, and then it turns out the guy who created it removed the log out button, so they're all kind of stuck in there.
Right.
So you're playing as characters. It's weird. You play as a character inside of an MMO.
Right.
So it's really cool in that sense. I played a lot of Lost Song, which was the previous one, where you could fly about and explore the world, and it was really cool. But this one is back on the ground, so there's a lot more detail, and the graphics are better, and there's a lot more emphasis on boss battles and teamwork. Your main character is totally customizable, so it's like boy, girl, like height, size, fatness, anything, which is cool because in other titles it's just been, you play as like one character.
Right.
So that was definitely the first one that I really, really enjoyed.
What's the next one? Like, I'm lost in this, so I can't imagine what you're thinking of these games.
Well, this is a good one actually because you can both talk about this one.
Okay.
It's not going to sound like it when I read the name, but Digimon.
Getting up for them.
Digimon story Cyber Sleuth. So this is essentially, you both know Pokemon.
Yes.
So imagine if like Pokemon were robots with guns.
I know what Digimon is.
Okay, well he doesn't.
Oh, right, okay.
I vaguely do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a similar sort of thing. The game's coming west on February 5th, and it feels a lot like a Pokemon game. So you can like wander around and like be like roaming around the map, and then all of a sudden you bump into like free Digimon, and you have to like battle them and train them up, which is pretty cool. And there's an app also that's releasing around the same time that's similar to Hearthstone. Okay. So it's like on your phone, but you're like doing the battles through cards, like a card-based combat. That's another one of the big ones they're bringing. They're bringing a lot of fighting titles, which I won't go into too much detail with, but games like Tekken 7, One Piece Burning Blood, Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, and it's like they just do these games so well. Like the characters are all so balanced, they're so different, but they all can counter each other really, really well, like fast-paced, beautiful graphics. It all looks really great. There was a new trailer for Naruto, which looks really cool. All of this has been covered on the site, so if you want to find out more, you can go to IGN.com and check out all the latest information on the game. But it's really cool to see a company like Bandai Namco taking the incentive to bring these games west, because there is a demand for it. Yeah. And a lot of the time, like I know a lot of people that struggle when they hear about all these great games coming out in Japan. Yeah. And they just never make it over here. And they said partially it's because of public demand, like polls online and people doing, what do you call those, like the forms y'all? Petitions, petitions essentially to, get the games brought over here. And it seems like it's actually working and it's actually happening. So it's great to see these games over here for fans of the shows and animes like myself. And I really enjoyed pretty much every title I got my hands on.
That's good.
Thank you, Gavin.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of those titles when they make their way west.
So am I.
I saw The Big Short last week, which is Adam McKay's new film. So Adam McKay made Anchorman, Step Brothers, and my favorite episode of Eastbound and Down. But he's like a comedy director and writer, and he's made a film about the 2007 housing bubble collapse with an amazing cast. You've got Christian Bale, Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Rafe Spall, isn't it? And he's really, really good. But the thing that I really like about it, and it's a really hard sell, it's written, the book is written by the same guy who wrote Moneyball and The Blind Side, and that guy is a really, really good writer. Like I read Moneyball and Blind Side, and he's really good at taking this like these weird really intricate situations and making you be able to understand them. And the film does a perfect job of that as well. Like Adam McKay is such a smart guy, and there's bits in it where they're trying to explain like the 2007 like housing bubble collapse that happened, and I'm not going to even try and explain it because the film does such a good job of it. But there's bits where it's like just at the point where they're talking, and just to the point where you're lost, you're like, oh, I don't kind of understand what's going on. He does these couple of scenes that explain it perfectly, and I won't spoil on what they are, but it's just so smart. Like, it's one of the smartest films I've seen in a while, but it makes you feel really smart as well, because you think, oh, I actually understand something, and he's making me understand it through these like cool little funny scenes, and it's really, really funny as well.
It's quite a serious topic to write a comedy about.
It's a really, really serious topic, and like some bits are really, really sad, but I think some people are doing really, really good like comedy performances. And like Steve Carell is really funny without being like Steve Carell, the comedian. He's doing like a Steve Carell serious role, but still managing to be funny. And Christian Bale is just fantastic in it. Like, he's the funniest I've ever seen Christian Bale, again, without trying to be funny.
Yeah.
It's just really, really good.
It's already come out in the States, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It's been out for a while there. We didn't get it till late, unfortunately, because it was on a lot of people's best of 2015 lists, but we hadn't managed to see it.
Better or worse than Steve Jobs?
Better.
Yeah. I've seen people comparing the two.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the comparisons, but I think just because it's a lot of fun, and yeah, no, it's definitely better. There's a lot more to it, and yeah, just seeing Christian Bale doesn't interact with any of the other guys, so he's very much like by himself on like there's like two different storylines going on.
Yeah.
But he's really, really good. And as I said, like, Rafe Spall has some of the funniest moments of the film as well, which is really, really good. But yeah, that's coming out soon. But what you should do before that comes out is check out Adam McKay's new podcast called Surprisingly Awesome. And it's a really cool podcast that he's doing with Gimlet Media, which is him and another guy who used to work for Planet Money. Like, taking, quite short, they're sort of like 30 minutes long, and they take in like boring subjects and finding the cool bit out of them. Like, there's a couple of really, really good episodes. The best one that I think people should start listening to, if they haven't listened to it, is episode 2, which is all about basketball free throws. And it's really, really fun. It's like, it looks at like almost like the science and like the psychology of like free throws. But it's a really, really good podcast as well.
But free throws are already cool. So you don't have to search too hard for that.
Now, you said free throws and you said 3 throws.
3 throws.
Which one are you saying?
Free throws.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it's about the idea, basically, that like free throws is like the great leveler in sports. Like, no matter who you are, everyone is on the same level. Everyone is on the same level when they step up to that line. But it's really, really good. But cool. the film is fantastic as well, and like Christian Bale should win all the awards, I believe.
Well, he's not winning any.
He's not winning any awards, but he should. Yeah.
But it is that time of year, actually, being January. In a weird way, we're getting sort of the summer blockbusters before the States are now, a week or two. But when it comes to the Oscar movies, we get them after. So they tend to come out in America in November and December, and in the UK in January and February.
Yeah.
I think partly so that once the Oscar nominations are out, they get more of a publicity in the UK, so they've got more chance of plus Christmas is a time when a lot of Americans go to the cinema, but not as many British people do. So we're getting a lot of good award ones at the moment. I think at the weekend you went and saw one, didn't you?
Did indeed. Me and Krupa went to see The Hateful Eight, which you'd already seen, and we're keeping stum about because you're good at doing that, but yeah, it's just brilliant. We went and saw like the 70mm presentation. It really felt like an event.
I'm so bummed I missed this.
Mostly because loads of people pre-ordered their tickets and then never bothered to pick them up. So outside the Odeon, Leicester Square, was this giant queue that went all the way, like both sides, all the way around. Luckily, I'd picked them up earlier so we could just walk straight in. But it's just fantastic. Like, starts with like, you know, the overture, which gives you this like massive sort of preview of the score, and the score is fantastic. Just won a Golden Globe as well. But the opening scene, it's like, for me, one of Quentin Tarantino's best scenes, and there's no dialogue in it. It's just a really, really long scene with this amazing score. What did you think of the film?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was terrific.
The only thing I've really heard about it so far is I've heard a number of people say I wouldn't recommend it to my friends who aren't Tarantino fans.
I would.
Really?
I'd recommend it more, if anything.
Because I think I haven't got a chance to see it yet. I really think I'd love it because I do love his films. But I've heard it can be a bit much for people
I can see that. If you don't like the hardcore violence he uses or the use of the N-word, and there's certain things it's taken to quite extremes in this one.
Yeah.
Like K&B do the effects, and they did the effects on Walking Dead, and there's some pretty good effects in this movie.
God.
Yeah.
It's snow as well, which is the perfect thing to splatter blood all over. Like,
when I spoke to him, he talked about the snow westerns that inspired it, this subgenre that he
westerns,
you can go on the site and hear him talking about his recommendations.
The blood feels really sticky in it. Like it feels like I don't know if that's a really weird thing to say, but like it feels like when they're like touching each other, it feels like really sticky and like horrible and gory.
I just worry about people being able to see the film, because I believe that was the only 70mm version of it in the UK, wasn't it?
I think so. I think a lot of places thought they were going to be able to do it, and then actually realised that the projectors weren't able to do it in the end. So
unless you lived in London or could travel to London, a lot of our listeners wouldn't be able to go and see it in the way it's supposed to be seen, which seems a real shame. And then obviously there was the problem with Cineworld. You were probably away for this, but
I did see it.
Yeah. Cineworld cinemas weren't showing it, and so
why is that? I didn't see this.
Because it was complicated, but because Leicester Square was the only cinema where they were having it in that 70mm presentation, and Cineworld wanted to do it at the Picture House that they own, in London, and I think the studio said they would only do it at Leicester Square. Cineworld said, all right, well, we're not going to screen it. And so it was kind of a bit of a standoff, and I don't know if it changed over the weekend, but as far as I know, you couldn't see it in the Cineworld. So that
or Picture House
hugely reduced, so that hugely reduces the amount of people that could see it, and I want that film to be a success. So that he's really hit. His films never made a huge amount of money, and then the last two have made a fortune, and I want that to continue so he can do whatever he wants. And I still think he probably can, and it's been a hit in the States, but still, it's just enough people getting to see it how it should be seen on the big screen.
Were you surprised it didn't do better, the Golden Globes? Pick up anything else?
Yes and no. It's pretty tough sell. I think he's gotten a lot of awards. Maybe it's too close to Django as well in terms of it being another period western. He got all the awards for that one. Maybe they weren't going to do it twice for him in the same genre. And maybe Django's a better script. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. But
good accompaniment to each other as well, both films.
Very much so, because I only watched Django again a couple of months ago, and they are.
What if you could watch them back to back?
Well, it started out, he was writing a Django book. He wanted to write a series of novellas about Django, and he started writing this story with Django as the main character, and then his thinking was that Django has this moral compass, and he doesn't want the characters in Hateful Eight to have that. They've all got to have something shady about them, and so it was a square peg in a round hole. So he just got rid of him, and I guess Samuel L. Jackson is the character that sort of he became. But good film, and also Creed is out this week as well. Which it's taken a while to get to the UK, but that's terrific. That's terrific as well.
We talked a bit about that last week, about how much you like it, and then Sylvester Stallone just won Golden Globe as well for
supporting actor, right? It's crazy.
Lovely stuff.
He's brilliant in it as well.
He's amazing.
But it's a fantastic film. But I had a really good sort of Western weekend as well, because I'd never seen Deadwood, and after coming out with Hateful Eight, my girlfriend and I were like, oh, let's carry on this Western vibe. And someone was talking about Deadwood on Twitter, so I started watching it, and then as we were watching it, pretty much, I looked on Twitter again in a break of a couple of episodes, and they announced they're making a movie of it, which they always said they were going to do. 2 movies, I think they promised to do, because it kind of ended abruptly. The series because it was cancelled on HBO, but I've started watching that, and having not known that much about it, I think I watched a couple of episodes while I was at uni. It's really good. It feels like a proper old school HBO show, really talky, really intricate. I'm watching that pretty much side by side with The Wire as well, and it's really good. Timothy Olyphant does quite a different thing with this performance, I thought, because usually he plays even though I really like Justified, it feels like he's always playing that kind of straight role, but he's kind of like a hothead, and you feel like there's lots more coming with him. So I can't really say what I want from a Deadwood movie, but at the moment I'm really enjoying the show.
So 2 movies, and theatrical movies or TV movies.
Well, they always said they would make 2 theatrical movies, but they're making one. One has been announced, basically.
Right, okay.
That's a safe way to do it.
Yeah, because the big news with Deadwood was the fact that it was Ian McShane playing a serious role, and now he's done a lot of that since. But before that, it was just what's Lovejoy doing in this American thing? And then you're watching, wow.
Yeah, he's really good.
No one really knew he had that in him, and I guess there's a lot of actors from that show now that have gone on to good things since.
Yeah, loads. In the first couple of episodes, Nick Offerman's in it, which you kind of don't recognise who he is, and then you go, oh, right, and then he gets his cock out. So if you want to see Nick Offerman's penis, get on Deadwood.
There's definitely a Deadwood pun there. Does anyone know? No one's going to take that?
Oh, that's good.
Right? Yeah. No one's going to... All right,
well, you should have just done it rather than...
I was waiting. I'd be like, I'd say something like, oh, Deadwood, and they'd be like, oh, Rory.
Rory.
Crass or something.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about Bandai Namco's Best Styles Head to the West.
No,
you
because
put that
the
in thing.
schedule's gone to garbage, apparently.
Let's move on to the Bog of Eternal Stench then, also known as the Golden Globes. And I think...
Are you really that upset over the Golden Globes?
Nah. But something's got to go in there, isn't there?
I guess so, yeah.
But I think the one thing that I was kind of... I guess I never get upset about award stuff, but I would have liked Wagner Moura from Narcos to get a little bit more, because I just thought he was really good. It's the guy who played... God. It's the guy who... What's the main guy from... What's the character?
What are you talking about?
Pablo Escobar.
Okay,
in Narcos. But he was beaten to Best Performance by an Actor in a Television Series Drama by Jon Hamm. And I do love Mad Men, but it kind of feels like that was like a token gift to Jon Hamm.
I thought he was really good.
He is really good.
He was really good in that final series.
But it kind of feels like something they just sort of going, oh, we better give that to him.
I won't have anything said against that. I thought that series was really great, and
really
he anchored it really well.
Yeah. But yeah, like some of the other stuff that came on, like I haven't seen Mozart in the Jungle, so that was a big shock for me, but you have seen it. You said it was pretty good.
Yeah, but I wouldn't give it an award.
Over Veep.
I really enjoyed the show. I like Gael Garcia Bernal, so I tuned in. I'm not a big Malcolm McDowell fan, but he's quite funny in it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like Entourage, but set in the world of classical music in New York. So it's young.
It's kind of cool.
It's young, sexy people like screwing and partying and
powdered wigs everywhere.
Yeah, but they happen during the day. They're great musicians, but and Gael Garcia Bernal plays this very eccentric Mexican guy that comes to replace Malcolm McDowell as the head of the orchestra, and it's kind of the clash between them two. But yeah, it's really good fun, but it's not that laugh out loud funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing amazing. It's something that you can have on. It's a very nice, easy watch, but it's certainly not as funny as Veep.
Yeah.
Is the music good?
The music's lovely, yeah. The music's lovely.
That's the thing. Out of all those, so we've got Casual, which I haven't seen, Mozart in the Jungle, Orange is the New Black, Silicon Valley, Transparent, and Veep. Out of all that, I would have thought Veep would have walked that.
And I think Silicon Valley, I think, is very good as well.
Silicon Valley's really, really good, yeah.
But not the strongest year for comedy, really. I don't think.
No. It's the same with the movies as well.
Another big shot was Wolf Hall beating Fargo. I thought Fargo would have definitely walked out as well.
Americans love the British drama, don't they?
Yeah.
Your Downton and your Wolf Hall.
Yeah.
But Fargo was my favourite TV show of last year, so as we've spoken about on here. So yeah, that's a shame. And also, I think Patrick Wilson was really good. Obviously, he was in that really acting category as well. But Fargo should have won everything. Yeah,
and unfortunately, See You Again from Furious 7 beaten out by Writings on the Wall by Spectre. What's going on there? Also, your Spectre song didn't even get a look in.
This year,
man. This year.
By the way, you know that you put a video over the top of the Spectre song?
Yeah.
The trailer, basically?
Yeah.
Can we just separate that and put it on the site?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
It's a good song. It's a really, really good song.
I hate Sam Smith
as
well.
Say I hate it. I was like, whoa.
I hate Sam Smith. He's got such an annoying voice.
Don't hate him, man.
I do.
The Martian, best comedy.
Yeah.
That's
comedy or musical.
It's pretty funny in some bits, but I wouldn't call it comedy.
There's music in it.
Yeah.
That's it's such a weird category though.
Yeah.
Best comedy or musical. It's really
because they're not even close.
Why don't they have a best horror section?
Yeah.
You know,
if you're going to do that.
Stallone, we said, won for Creed. I think that was a bit of a surprise because a lot of people thought Mark Rylance was going to win for Bridge of Spies, but
that's a really close category. That is.
No one's going to hold that against him.
No.
So Jobs beat The Big Short for best screenplay. Maybe you disagree with that then?
It's a really good screenplay. Like I think it's brilliant. I mean, I don't disagree. I think on they're on level sort of peg-ins. I think, and I think we've said before, as a biopic, it's it's up there with one of the best. I think.
Yeah.
So I've got no qualms with that really. What I do have qualms with is Jennifer Lawrence winning for Joy.
Yeah.
That's one of the first stinkers of the year. I think. I watched it last weekend and sort of sat in the cinema. Kind of I was so bored. I was just looking around, seeing if anybody else was enjoying it. People seem to be really liking it. I was just looking around going, does anyone else think this is bullshit?
So do you think Minister McCarthy should have beaten her for Spy? Who she was up against?
No, who else is in
that?
Amy Schumer, Maggie Smith and Lily Tomlin.
I'd have given it to Maggie Smith,
I don't know why they even bother anymore having a category. They should just give it to Jennifer Lawrence every year, shouldn't they?
She's all right in it, but it's a terrible film.
I'm really glad Brie
proper
Larson
stinker.
won for Room, though.
I haven't seen that yet. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's the best performance I saw.
Yeah.
It's not out in the UK yet, but it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
You mentioned Mr. Robot winning, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
So Mr. Robot beat Narcos.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were supposed to be talking about.
I really, really want to watch that show, but because it's
I was
Amazon
talking about
Prime,
John
it's
Hamm
so
beating him.
difficult to get hands on. I saw 2 episodes because
It's on
they were
Amazon
my-
Prime, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have Amazon Prime.
Oh.
That is my problem. I saw 2 episodes though on my flight to Japan,
Yeah.
and I was like, I loved it. But that's the problem with flights; they'll have like 2 episodes of a season, and that's
Yeah,
it. And then you're
teasing.
like, why wouldn't you just have the whole thing?
And Christian Slater won, right? For
Yeah,
that?
I mean, happy to see Christian Slater winning for Mr. Robot and
Yeah.
also Oscar Isaac winning for Show Me a Hero.
Yeah.
Because actually, I'm more surprised about Christian Slater. I thought he was good in Mr. Robot without being
Yeah.
amazing.
Who else was he up against?
Well, Ben Mendelsohn for Bloodline, Damien
I
Lewis for
haven't seen
Wolf Hall, and Coming in The Good Wife, whatevs.
Yeah.
The one that really surprised me, though, was Lady Gaga winning Best Actress for American Horror Story.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know really.
I thought
What
you were
was she up
joking.
against?
I did not think you
Um,
were telling the truth.
She was up against Kirsten Dunst, who was brilliant in Fargo.
Really good.
Sarah Hay, Felicity Huffman, and Queen Latifah. But yeah, I guess we can't really speak to that because none of us
No.
have watched that American Horror Story. But I just found that hard to believe that she's that good. But maybe she is.
Yeah. And to be fair, the good thing about like that category is, or a lot of this stuff as well, is a lot of it is like self-contained stuff, which I really like now. Like you can actually go and watch that American Horror Story series without really having seen the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess in kind of the same way with Fargo as well.
Yeah.
I think you'd probably miss out on some little bits.
No,
but,
I think
you
with
know.
Fargo, because I watched season 2 with my dad.
Yeah. Without him seeing season 1.
No, I've got season 1 now. I
Yeah.
think it's a really good way of watching it because he'll know the 2 characters that are in both.
Yeah.
But none of the other characters really are. And I think
Yeah.
and it's in the chronological order then.
Yeah.
I just think
That's
you might be-
interesting, yeah.
So season 2's before season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
if
is.
I hypothetically had not seen Fargo and was going to watch it,
It doesn't matter. It really
Okay.
doesn't matter. I mean, I think season 2 is better than season 1, so maybe start with the one that's not quite as good.
okay.
But it's not going to affect your enjoyment. It's
No.
just there's a couple of characters that cross over, but they're
Yeah.
such different ages that it doesn't really.
Yeah.
The storyline doesn't.
Okay, cool.
It is really good.
Right.
Brilliant. Oh, we got some feedback, Rory?
This ridiculously sized paper. Thanks,
Printed these up for
Dan.
us.
Like we're children. This is from Rob Porter,
Okay.
titled Punisher. Rob writes, with Disney owning Marvel, do you think we'll ever see a new Punisher movie? I mean, a proper 18 certificate, not a family-friendly movie like the Terminator franchise has been doing as of late.
I don't see why not. He's going to be in like Daredevil, so I guess setting up there.
And that's pretty grim. Daredevil's a pretty. Well, does that have a rating? Do Netflix shows have ratings?
I don't know actually, but I guess mature.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a very mature show. So
Yeah.
if it's following along that sort of.
I don't see why
vibe,
not. I guess the only thing that's going to hold it back is it's the fact that it's going to be a TV version as well. And are they going to do the same? Are they going to do the thing where the like DC do with the TV? There's going to be a TV universe and a movie universe.
Well, no, they acknowledge each other,
Yeah.
both universes, so that it's the same world. It's whether or not they want to cross the streams and use the television characters on the cinema screen. Unfortunately, I think the best place for it to have all happened would have been Civil War, but they hadn't got Netflix up and running in time to really make that a valid part of it. And so for now, I think they're going to stay separate, but they've cast it really well, and I find it hard to believe that down the line we won't get a Daredevil movie and then a Punisher movie to follow. And we were talking about, or maybe I haven't been talking about, just been thinking about it. I think we're going to see more team-up movies as well. We'll see how Batman v Superman does, but we might see a Daredevil Punisher movie because that's kind of the appeal now, having a couple of characters together. Ant-Man and Wasp is going to be the next one.
It's just an easy bank, really, just certified. Like if everyone has their individual movies, let's start pairing them up, and,
and I think
you've got both audiences now like coming.
And
to
you can also pair like a big character with a character and introduce them that way as well. Like some of my favorite
Hulk and Ant-Man.
some of my
big and
favorite team ups in comics is Wolverine and Punisher, because they work really well together, because the Punisher is all about sort of like ultra violence, and anything he does to Wolverine can regenerate. So you get a lot of like really good back and forth with that, where they have arguments, Punisher will blow his face off, and then he'll come back.
Well, Winter Soldier was that. It was Captain America and Black Widow. It was a bigger character with a smaller character. I mean, they just didn't put her in the title, but that was a team-up movie.
Yeah, they're pretty much doing everything together.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I guess it all depends on how this next series of Daredevil goes.
Yeah.
Well, Punisher, it seems like every time it's introduced, whether it's like a movie or a game, like the Punisher games, they're brutal. They're like pretty brutal. Yeah. Which was strange at the time for me growing up, because you see Punisher and you're like, oh, it's a character from the comics. I play a lot of comic book games. And then I was like, went to check it out in the store one day and it's like, I can't buy this. I'm not old enough to buy this Punisher game. So I think it's quite nice that they're staying true to that sounds ridiculous, I realize that. But it's nice that they're staying true to like the source material and they're not kind of, glossing over it.
Yeah.
So hopefully they don't.
Nice.
Agreed. Okay, I have an email from Will Rimmer.
Okay.
Who says, Duck Hunt. Hello there, chaps. After the great 2015 year of horror films such as Housebound and It Follows, I was wondering what you were most excited about for 2016. I still get nice tweets from people thanking me for recommending Housebound.
Really?
People are still discovering that movie.
Yeah, that's good.
So if you like that, Deathgasm is the next one you should watch. Okay. Again, a Kiwi horror comedy.
Such a great title.
Will says, they had to change the title in America for Walmart. They didn't even tell Jason who made it. I can't remember what they've called it. They've given it like a horror title. But they were just obviously frightened of Deathgasm.
Deathgasm.
But the first he heard of it was someone photographed it in Walmart and sent him a picture. He was like, oh.
Cheers.
He was fine with that. As he said, like, look, horror movies in the 80s used to change titles all the time, just trying to sell. Like Dead Alive.
Okay.
Peter Jackson. Yeah. That's, what's that called? It's called something else in England and it's called Dead Alive in America. My mind's gone blank. I hate myself. Anyway, Will says, I have 5 horror films I'm looking forward to. So these are his most wanted horror films. Number 5, The Forest. That's got Natalie Dormer in.
Oh, yeah. I don't fancy that.
If we want her in the office, we can get her in the office, Let's talk about that.
Okay.
For The Forest. Number 4, Rings, which is a new Ring movie.
Is it? Mm-hmm. American or Japanese?
American.
Okay.
I think it's American. Yeah, I'm sure it's American.
I'm happy with that.
Number 3, The Conjuring 2.
I like The Conjuring.
James Wan back, set in England, in Enfield.
Ooh.
Number 2, A Monster Calls.
Don't know what that is.
Based on a best-selling children's book. I think Liam Neeson's in it.
I saw the trailer for that. It looks really good.
Trailer's good. I've got the book, actually.
I didn't know it was horror. I thought it was kind of like fantasy.
Yeah, it's horror. It's kids' horror.
I thought you were having like childhood flashbacks or something there. As soon as you explained it, you were like,
yeah.
I've got the book, though, so I'll read that and report back. But it's really beloved, and it looks like a great movie.
So is it for kids, or is this
it is.
Oh, okay.
It is, but I think it's going to be quite heavy. Awesome. For a bit for both. And then number 1, The Witch, which we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, Finchy's horror movie.
Finchy.
What's his name? Ralph Ellison?
Yeah.
Will any of us be able to enjoy that movie when he's in it? I don't think I could.
But I've
take it seriously.
Well, funny that Will should write in. I've just written 12 original horror films to look forward to in 2016. So rather than having sequels,
nice,
because there's so many sequels and remakes, I've done a bunch of original stuff. So I'll just read out some of them, but look out for these in 2016. Baskin. That's a mad Turkish film. That is mad and horrible.
Why do we want to watch it?
Because it'll imprint on your brain. The last half hour is so messed up. February's coming out. Now that is Emma Roberts and the girl that plays Little Draper in Mad Men.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that is messed up as well. It's very, very dark. They're 2 actors I don't particularly like, but man, they deliver on this film. 31 is Ralph
Finchy.
Rob Zombie's Ralph Zombie.
Ralph Zombie, his cousin,
Just carry on the zombie lineage.
31 is Carnies v Clowns.
Okay.
And it's just been hit with an NC-17 rating in the States, so it's messed up. Devil's Candy's really good. That is a really good kind of heavy metal horror movie. About kind of satanic possession and a haunted house, and really good fun. Yeah, that one's playing at Glasgow Fright Fest, as is Baskin. The Mind's Eye, which is also playing at Glasgow Fright Fest, that's like a John Carpenter style movie about telekinetic powers, a bit like Scanners or Fury.
I'm sold.
The Boy is one I'm really excited about. I'll tell you the setup for this one. Pretty girl from Walking Dead. I can't remember her name.
Is it the blonde one?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember her name either.
She is a nanny and she goes, I think, to England to work in a big old Gothic mansion. And so these old couple say, we want you to look after our son. And they tell him all about the son. And she says, okay.
Is he the boy?
Yeah, but he's a life-size dummy. And she thinks it's a joke, but it isn't.
Oh.
And she's getting paid loads of money to look after this dummy, but there's a bunch of rules, kind of like Gremlins, that she has to follow.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, because it's just a dummy. So she's like, when they're not in, she doesn't feed it or whatever. And then,
That sounds really good.
That sounds really scary.
Silly, but it looked like a Hammer horror, to be honest, which is great.
I don't like that.
There's like a really good sense of foreboding already, where she's just like, I'm not going to do that. It's like, please do it.
Yeah, you see her like walking around, she's eating and she's not giving any food to this dummy, because why would you?
What is it, like a mannequin?
Yeah, like almost like, it looks like almost like a ventriloquist dummy, kind of like.
Those are always creepy.
Death House has got like Robert Englund and a whole bunch of people that have played horror icons.
Nice.
Doug Bradley and they're all together and they play a bunch of convicts that escape from prison.
Okay.
That could be good or bad. Holidays is like Tales of Halloween and Christmas Horror Story. It's an anthology movie based on all the different holidays of the year.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Kevin Smith does the Halloween one.
Oh, cool.
So that looks like fun. Man in the Dark is Fede Alvarez's follow-up to Evil Dead.
Oh, I really liked his Evil Dead.
And it's about a couple of kids, some teenagers who break into a blind millionaire's house to rob from him and get the tables turned on them.
Nice.
Nina Forever's really good. That's going straight to DVD over here. That's a really sexy film about like a bloke's girlfriend comes back from the dead whenever he's having sex with his new girlfriend and kind of joins in.
What?
Yeah. And then Limehouse Golem is a British gothic horror, but it's based on a Peter Ackroyd bestseller, and it's written by Jane Goldman. So I think if you like the Woman in Black, it'll be that kind of horror. It's got Alan Rickman, some really good actors in it. So there's loads of good horror, and some of it's playing at Glasgow Fright Fest. And I recommend everyone go. They announced the films this week playing, and you can buy your tickets. So, and you never know, we might be there as well. Maybe. Watch this space.
Okay, then just finally a really quick one to end then from Daryl Sharp, who says, "Are you still planning on giving the podcast a new name for 2016?" That's something we talked about, is renaming the podcast, but we can't think of any good ones. So if you have any really good ideas for something we could rename this podcast to, Rory, off the top of your head?
Devil's Candy.
Nice.
Yep.
That's all right.
It's one of the
Although we haven't just stolen that.
Or The Boy. Call it The Boy.
Let's call it the Limehouse Golem.
Are you just looking at it like, microphone cup, the microphone cup?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have any ideas
Punisher.
for names that we can call the IGN UK podcast, let us know. IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com as well, if you want to send us anything else to read out in the feedback as well. And we shall see you next week.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Bye.